Listen, I'm gonna need y'all to understand something right now. My name is Veronica Matthews. I'm 52 years old, and I have worked my entire life to own a beautiful 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood with a 2-car garage that I paid for with my own hard-earned money. Now, I don't ask for much. I go to work, I pay my bills, I mind my business, and I keep my garage clean enough to actually park my car in it. That's all I want. That's literally all I want. So imagine my surprise when I come home early from work one Thursday afternoon because my boss had food poisoning from some questionable shrimp tacos, and I pull up to my house only to see 4 cars parked in my driveway and 3 more lined up on the street. Now, I'm thinking maybe somebody died and nobody told me. Or maybe my daughter Imani is having some kind of study group, even though she graduated from college 2 years ago and works at a marketing firm. But no, what I walked into was so much worse. I come through the front door, and immediately I smell chemicals. Not like cleaning product chemicals, but that distinct smell of hair relaxer mixed with hot comb grease and nail polish remover. I'm standing there in my living room, confused as all get out, when I hear music blasting from the garage. And I'm talking about that Megan Thee Stallion, City Girls, Cardi B rotation that young folks love. My garage, which was supposed to be housing my Honda Accord, has apparently turned into Club Shampoo and Set. I march through the kitchen, swing open the door to the garage, and sweet baby Jesus in a manger. It looked like a whole entire beauty salon exploded in there. My daughter Imani has got one woman in a salon chair that I don't even know where she got from, doing her hair. Her best friend Tanisha is over in the corner doing somebody's nails at a folding table. There's another girl I've never seen before waxing somebody's eyebrows. And in the back, near where my gardening tools used to be, there's a whole setup with one of those ring lights and a girl doing makeup on another woman who's getting her pictures taken. Y'all, I stood there for a full 30 seconds, just trying to process what my eyeballs were witnessing. "Imani Denise Matthews," I finally yelled over the music. The whole garage went silent. And I mean that scary kind of silent where even the music seemed to get quieter out of respect for the storm that was about to hit. Imani looked up from the woman's head she was braiding and had the nerve to smile at me like we were at a church picnic. "Hey, Mama, you're home early. You want me to touch up your edges real quick?" I got a cancellation at 3. "Touch up my what?" "Girl, what in the entire world is going on in my garage?" Oh, she said it like she just remembered she was running a whole unauthorized business out of my house. "Mama, this is my new business venture. I told you I wanted to start a side hustle. You said you were selling candles on Etsy." "Well, yeah, but that wasn't really taking off. But this, Mama, this is taking off. Look at all these clients." I looked around at all these women who were now staring at me like I was the one who was out of place. In my own garage. In my own house. That I pay the mortgage on. "Hi, Mrs. Matthews," one of them said, giving me a little wave. "Your daughter is really talented. She did my sister's wedding party makeup last month." I took a deep breath. I took several deep breaths. I counted to 10 in my head. I thought about my blood pressure medication that I take every morning, and then I said, very calmly, "Everybody out." "Mama!" Imani jumped up from her chair. "I said everybody out, right now. This is not a negotiation. Y'all should have seen these women scrambling. The one getting her eyebrows waxed had to leave with one eyebrow done and one eyebrow half done. The nail girl had to wrap up 3 fingers and tell her client to come back tomorrow. The whole operation shut down in about 5 minutes flat, and then it was just me, Imani, and Tanisha, who was trying to sneak out behind the last client. "Tanisha, I saw you! Get back in here!" Tanisha froze like a cartoon character and slowly turned around. "Yes, Mrs. Matthews? How long has this been going on?" Tanisha looked at Imani. Imani looked at the floor. Neither one of them looked at me. "I'm waiting. 3 months." Imani finally mumbled. 3 months? You've been running a whole beauty salon out of my garage for 3 months, and you didn't think to mention it to me? "I was going to tell you, Mama, I swear. But I wanted to wait until I had enough money saved up to get my own space. I'm making really good money, Mama. Like really good money. I've already saved up almost 8,000. Now that made me pause, because 8,000 is 8,000, and I didn't raise no fool. My baby was out here getting her coins. But still, that's great, Imani. I'm proud of you for that. But you cannot run a business out of my garage without my permission. What about insurance? What about permits? What about the fact that I can't park my car in my own garage? Your car fits in the driveway. That's not the point, and you know it. We stood there in a stare-down for a hot minute. This girl had her father's stubbornness, God rest his soul, and my determination. It was a dangerous combination. Look, I said, trying to be reasonable. I understand you're trying to build something. I respect that, but you can't just take over my space without asking. This is my house. I know, Mama, and I'm sorry. I really am. But you know how hard it is out here. I'm working my 9 to 5, but that's barely covering my student loans and my car note. This business, it's helping me build something real, something that's mine. And see, that's when she got me. Because I understood that feeling. I remembered being her age, trying to make something happen, trying to build something that was mine. Her daddy and I had started our first business in my mama's basement, selling bootleg DVDs before streaming killed that whole industry. We made good money too, until we got that cease and desist letter. But that's another story. Okay, I said, and Imani's eyes got big. Here's what we're gonna do. You can keep running your business out of the garage, but we're doing this right. We're getting proper insurance. We're making sure everything is up to code. And we're setting some ground rules about hours and noise and how many cars can be parked in my driveway at one time. Really? Imani looked like she might cry. Really? But if I come home and can't get into my own driveway again, we're going to have a whole different conversation. You understand? Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mama. Oh my God, thank you so much. She hugged me so tight I thought my ribs might crack. Tanisha started clapping. And I stood there thinking about how this girl was going to be the death of me, but also feeling kind of proud that she had the guts to go after what she wanted. The next week, we had a whole family meeting about it. I called my sister Patricia, who's a lawyer, to help us figure out the legal stuff. We called my cousin Marcus, who owns a barbershop, to get advice about running a beauty business. We even called my mama, who's 78 and still sharp as a tack, to get her blessing because you don't do anything major in this family without checking with Big Mama first. Big Mama's response? Baby, I used to run a numbers game out of my kitchen in 1972. At least she's doing something legal. Let the girl cook. So that's how I ended up with a licensed, insured, legitimate beauty business operating out of my garage. Imani named it Glowed Up by Imani and got a whole LLC and everything. She even made me a part owner, so I get 20% of the profits, which I wasn't expecting but definitely wasn't turning down. Now, here's where the story gets really interesting. Because about 2 months into this new legitimate business venture, Imani comes to me with an idea. It's the week before Thanksgiving, and she's all excited, talking fast the way she does when she's nervous. Mama, so I was thinking, you know how we always have Thanksgiving at the house? Yes, and? Well, what if this year we did something different? What if we offered Thanksgiving glam services? Like we could do a special package where women come get their hair and makeup done before their Thanksgiving dinner. We could call it the Grateful and Glam package. I looked at this girl. I looked at her long and hard. So, you want to turn Thanksgiving, a holiday where we're supposed to be grateful for what we have and spend time with family, into a business opportunity? Well, when you say it like that, it sounds bad. But think about it, Mama. Women want to look good for Thanksgiving. They're taking pictures with their family. They're seeing relatives they haven't seen all year. They're running into their exes at the grocery store. This is the perfect time to offer our services. And you know what? She wasn't wrong. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. People do want to look good for the holidays. And if we could help them feel confident and beautiful while making some money, why not? Okay, but we're still having our family Thanksgiving dinner. That's non-negotiable. Of course! We'll just do appointments in the morning and early afternoon, and then we'll shut down by 3 so we can start cooking and getting ready for dinner at 6. And who's this we? You better not be planning to volunteer me to do hair. No, Mama, but you make the best sweet potato pie in the city. I was thinking we could offer pie as part of the package, like a little Thanksgiving treat to take home. This girl was really out here trying to monetize my sweet potato pie. The audacity, the unmitigated gall. But also, she was thinking like a real entrepreneur, and I couldn't even be mad at it. So that's how I ended up spending the Wednesday before Thanksgiving making 20 sweet potato pies in my kitchen, while Imani and her team transformed the garage into what can only be described as a Thanksgiving glam factory. They had fall decorations everywhere, pumpkin spice candles burning, and a playlist of Thanksgiving songs mixed with R&B. Thanksgiving morning. Women started showing up at 7 in the morning. 7! On Thanksgiving! And they were happy about it. They came in their bonnets and their slides, carrying their Thanksgiving outfits in garment bags, ready to get transformed. Imani had 3 other stylists working with her. Tanisha was doing nails, and they had brought in a makeup artist named Destiny, who could beat a face so good you'd think she worked for MAC. I played hostess, greeting everybody, offering coffee and tea, handing out slices of pie, and generally making sure everything ran smoothly. And I'm not gonna lie, it was actually kind of fun. These women came in looking tired and stressed, talking about all the cooking they had to do and all the family drama they were about to deal with, and they left looking like they were ready to host their own cooking show. One woman, Miss Patricia from down the street, came in talking about how she had to see her ex-husband at her daughter's house for dinner, and she wanted to make sure she looked better than his new girlfriend. Imani hooked her up with some goddess locks and a copper-toned makeup look that had her looking like she stepped out of a magazine. Miss Patricia looked in the mirror and literally started crying happy tears. "I look like myself again," she said. "I forgot I could look like this." That's when I realized this wasn't just about hair and makeup. This was about giving women a moment to feel good about themselves during a stressful holiday. This was about community and sisterhood and building each other up. Imani wasn't just running a beauty business. She was creating a space where women could feel seen and valued and beautiful. By 3 o'clock, we had served 15 clients, made a whole lot of money, and everybody was happy. The garage was cleaned up, the equipment was put away, and it was time to start on our own Thanksgiving dinner. Now, our family Thanksgiving is usually a pretty big production. It's me, Imani, my sister Patricia and her husband Gerald, my brother Marcus and his wife Shanice, and their 3 kids, Big Mama and my Uncle James, who never brings anything but always eats everything. This year, though, Patricia called me the night before and said she was bringing a guest. "Who?" I asked, immediately suspicious, because Patricia has been divorced for 5 years and she's very particular about introducing us to anyone she's dating. "It's a surprise," she said in that tone that meant I wasn't getting any more information out of her. So Thanksgiving evening comes around, and everybody starts arriving with their dishes. Marcus brought his famous mac and cheese that's so good it should be illegal. Shanice brought her collard greens that she swears down are better than Big Mama's, which is blasphemy, but we let her believe it. Uncle James brought himself and his appetite. Big Mama brought her dressing that has been the same recipe since 1963 and will never change, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I had made the turkey, the ham, the sweet potato pie, my green beans, and my candied yams. Imani made her mashed potatoes and her cranberry sauce that she insists on making from scratch, even though the canned stuff tastes exactly the same. But I digress. We're all in the kitchen, setting up the food on the counter buffet style, when the doorbell rings. Patricia yells from the living room, "I'll get it! That's my guest!" We all kind of pause and look at each other because the way she said, "my guest," sounded real suspicious. I walk into the living room just as Patricia opens the door. And y'all, I need you to understand the absolute chaos that happened next. Patricia walks in smiling, looking beautiful in her burnt orange dress, and behind her is a man. A tall, handsome, well-dressed man who looks very familiar. And then I realize why he looks familiar. It's Darnell. Darnell Thompson, Imani's ex-boyfriend from college. The same Darnell who broke my baby's heart 3 years ago when he decided he wanted to find himself by moving to Los Angeles to pursue music production. The same Darnell who Imani cried over for 6 months. The same Darnell who she finally got over after a lot of ice cream, sad songs, and girl talks. Imani is standing in the kitchen doorway with a bowl of mashed potatoes in her hands, and her face goes through about 17 different emotions in 3 seconds. Shock, confusion, anger, more anger, a little bit of, is this really happening right now? And then she looks at Patricia like she's trying to figure out if her aunt has lost her entire mind. "Surprise," Patricia says, completely oblivious to the tension that just filled the room. "Everyone, this is Darnell. We've been dating for 2 months." The silence that followed was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Uncle James, bless his heart, was the only one still moving, reaching for a deviled egg from the appetizer tray. "Dating?" Imani's voice was real quiet, too quiet, dangerously quiet. "Yes, we met at a music industry mixer. He's doing so well with his production company. Isn't that wonderful?" Marcus caught my eye and mouthed, "Oh Lord." Shanice grabbed her wine glass and took a long sip. Big Mama sat down in her chair and said, "Well, this is about to be interesting." Darnell, to his credit, looked like he wanted the floor to open up and swallow him whole. "I didn't know Patricia was your aunt," he said to Imani. "She never mentioned her last name, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together until we were already in the car on the way here." "You didn't think to mention you were dating my niece's ex-boyfriend?" I asked Patricia, my voice real calm and measured, because I was trying not to go completely off at my own Thanksgiving dinner. "I didn't know he was her ex. Imani never told me his last name. She always just called him the music guy when she talked about him." This was technically true. Imani has a habit of giving people nicknames and then never actually using their real names when she tells stories. Darnell had been the music guy. Her current boyfriend, Jerome, is the marketing guy. And her last boyfriend before Jerome was the tall guy who couldn't dance. "So y'all are really dating?" Imani asked, still holding those mashed potatoes like they were the only thing keeping her grounded. "Yes," Patricia said, and then she must have realized how bad this looked, because she added, "But if this is too weird, we can leave. I don't want to ruin Thanksgiving." "No, no, no." Big Mama spoke up from her chair. "Ain't nobody leaving. We're going to sit down and eat this food like civilized people. Life is too short to let awkwardness ruin a good turkey." And because nobody argues with Big Mama, that's exactly what we did. We all sat down at the table, me, Imani, Patricia, Gerald, Marcus, Shanice, their 3 kids, Uncle James, Big Mama, and Darnell. The most awkward Thanksgiving dinner table in the history of Thanksgiving dinner tables. The first 10 minutes were painful. People were passing dishes and making small talk about the weather, and everybody was being extremely careful not to mention anything about relationships or the past or music or Los Angeles or anything that might set off a bomb. Then Uncle James, who apparently decided he had nothing to lose, asked Darnell, "So how you let a good woman like Imani go? That was stupid." "Uncle James," Patricia gasped. "What?" "I'm just saying. Man left to go find himself in Los Angeles. Nephew, I could have told you for free that you weren't lost. You were just scared." Darnell put down his fork and looked Uncle James dead in the eye. "You're right. I was scared. I was 23 years old, and Imani was talking about marriage and building a future, and I panicked. I thought I needed to go chase some dream in LA. Turns out, everything I was looking for was right here." The table got real quiet again. "But by the time I figured that out," Darnell continued, "Imani had moved on, and she should have. I hurt her, and I own that. I came back to Atlanta 6 months ago, and I've been doing well with my production company. And then I met Patricia at that mixer, and she's amazing. She's talented, she's funny. She makes me want to be better, and I never would have purposely put anyone in this position. If I had known she was Imani's aunt, I would have been upfront about our history. Patricia reached over and squeezed Darnell's hand. Imani was staring at her plate like it held the secrets of the universe. "Imani," Darnell said, turning to look at her, "I'm sorry for how I ended things with you. You deserved better than that. You deserved an explanation and closure and honesty. I was immature and selfish, and I've regretted it every day since." Imani finally looked up, and y'all, my baby had tears in her eyes. But she wasn't crying. She was just processing everything. "I appreciate you saying that," she said slowly. "I'm not gonna lie. Seeing you walk through that door with my aunt was wild. Like, top 10 most shocking moments of my life, wild. But you know what? I'm actually okay. I'm more than okay. I'm happy. I'm building my business. I'm dating someone who's amazing. I've grown so much in the last 3 years. And honestly, what you did, even though it hurt like crazy at the time, it pushed me to figure out who I was without you. So, in a weird way, thank you." "You're dating someone?" Patricia asked, looking relieved. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you never ask me about my personal life. You're always so focused on work and your own stuff that I didn't think you'd care." "Of course I care. You're my niece. I love you." And then, because this is how family works, Imani and Patricia both started crying and got up from the table to hug each other. Marcus shook his head and said, "Women." Shanice smacked him on the arm. The kids asked if they could start eating dessert. Uncle James was already on his second plate, and Big Mama just sat there with a little smile on her face like she knew this was all going to work out. After dinner, we all moved to the living room with our desserts. Imani pulled me aside in the kitchen while we were putting away leftovers. "Mama, I'm sorry about earlier. I know I was being dramatic. Baby, you had every right to be shocked. That was a lot to process. I know. But I realized something. I've been holding on to this anger toward Darnell for so long, and I didn't even realize it. Seeing him with Aunt Patricia, seeing him apologize and own up to his mistakes, it helped me let go of that. I don't need him anymore. I don't want him anymore. And I'm genuinely happy for him and Aunt Patricia if they're happy together. That's very mature of you. I learned from the best," she said, hugging me. "And speaking of learning, thank you for letting me run my business out of the garage. I know I didn't go about it the right way at first, but you believed in me and helped me make it legitimate. I couldn't have done this without you. That's what family does. We support each other, we help each other grow, and we show up even when things get awkward and messy." We went back to the living room where Patricia and Darnell were showing everybody pictures from their trip to Savannah. Imani sat down next to them and actually engaged in the conversation, asking questions and laughing at their stories. It was beautiful to watch. Later that night, after everybody had gone home, and it was just me and Imani cleaning up, she said something that really stuck with me. "You know what I learned today, Mama? I learned that holding on to hurt and anger doesn't protect you. It just keeps you stuck. Letting go, forgiving people even when they don't deserve it, that's what sets you free. And sometimes the people we think are taking something from us are actually making room for something better." I thought about that as I washed the last dish. I thought about how angry I was when I first discovered Imani's garage salon, how I felt like she was taking advantage of me and my space. But really, she was building something beautiful. And by supporting her instead of shutting her down, we both grew. We both benefited. We both learned something valuable. And I thought about Darnell breaking Imani's heart all those years ago, how I wanted to protect her from that pain. But that pain shaped her into the strong, independent woman she is today. It taught her what she really wanted in a partner. It showed her that she could survive heartbreak and come out stronger. The next morning, Imani came into the kitchen where I was having my coffee and scrolling through Facebook looking at everybody's Thanksgiving pictures. "Mama, I invited Jerome over for leftover Thanksgiving dinner tonight. I want you to meet him officially." "The marketing guy?" "Yeah, the marketing guy. His real name is Jerome Williams, by the way. I should probably start using people's actual names." "That would be helpful," I said, laughing. Jerome came over that evening, and he was wonderful. Polite, respectful, asked good questions, complimented my cooking, and clearly adored my daughter. As I watched them together, laughing and talking and being comfortable with each other, I realized that Imani had found something real, something healthy, something worth keeping. And that garage business? It's still going strong. Imani just signed a lease on a real storefront that opens in January. She's hiring 4 more stylists and expanding into aesthetics and massage therapy. My baby is really building an empire, and I get to watch it happen from the front row. As for Patricia and Darnell, they're still together and seem genuinely happy. Imani and Darnell are now friends who can talk about music and business and laugh about old times without any weirdness. Family gatherings are no longer awkward, and Uncle James still shows up to every function without bringing a dish. Some things never change, and that's okay. Here's what I learned from this whole experience. Sometimes the things that feel like invasions of our space or disruptions to our peace are actually opportunities for growth. Sometimes the people we thought we'd lost forever come back into our lives in unexpected ways to teach us new lessons. And sometimes the best thing we can do for the people we love is to get out of their way and let them build something beautiful, even if it means they're doing it in our garage. Family is messy. Family is complicated. Family will use your garage to run an unauthorized beauty business and show up to Thanksgiving dinner with your daughter's ex-boyfriend. But family is also the people who show up for you, who believe in your dreams, who forgive you when you mess up, and who help you become the best version of yourself. And at the end of the day, that's what matters most. Not the perfect Thanksgiving dinner, or the perfectly organized garage, or the perfectly drama-free family gathering. What matters is showing up with love, grace, and a willingness to grow together. Oh, and good sweet potato pie. Good sweet potato pie always matters. Like this video if it touched something in you. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories about what it means to be human, to be family, and to choose love, even when it's complicated. I'll see you next time. Like this video if it touched something in you. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories about what it means to be human, to be family, and to choose love even when it's complicated. I'll see you next time.